Hi, and welcome to Logic.io Customer Testimonials.
Let's check in with Tyler Decker, Director of Technology at Woodland Direct, the fire experts in fireplaces, chimneys, wood stoves, and much more. You'll hear how Woodland Direct drives operational efficiency and delivers a flexible online product configuration.
Awesome. Well, we were here with Tyler Decker from Woodland Direct. Tyler, thanks for joining. I guess, Tyler, just to start, if you can just introduce yourself a little bit about your role and a little bit about Woodland Direct to start, that would be great.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. So Tyler Decker, I'm the Director of Technology at Woodland Direct. And so I oversee kind of our development efforts, our technology in general, and have a lot of insight into our product data and kind of some of our back-end processes, all the kind of stuff needed to make all the stuff happen, right? So, Woodland is we sell fireplaces, fire pits, a lot of things related to fire, and there's a lot of complicated stuff and a lot of stuff you got to get right. So I guess that's a good background.
Gotcha. And tell me a little bit about kind of Woodland's go-to-market strategy when it comes to all those fire-related products. I know digital commerce is obviously a big area for you guys, so tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so our primary footprint in the market, I guess, is that digital commerce, right? We have woodlanddirect.com, and that is where most people are going to see us from. And the big thing, though, on the back end is we actually have a highly certified, trained, expert team that handles actually most of our business. Specifically the kind of the larger jobs, custom jobs, a lot of things like that. So we do a lot of things that maybe aren't entirely apparent on our e-commerce if you're just going for that traditional e-commerce experience. But our goal is to be the experts in fire. Again, we talk about something that's a really dangerous product if you do it wrong, if you sell the wrong things, if you install it wrong, whatever. So our goal is to be the experts in fire to help people get from that kind of point of ideation of what their product is all the way kind of to the end goal of really seeing it come to life and whatever their application is. So for us, that e-commerce place where we sit there is really, again, in that ideation stage for the customers where they can see what's possible, whether they're going to convert online or whether they're going to convert with one of our sales reps or whether they're going to go somewhere else and buy it or do whatever. It doesn't, our goal is really to give the customer a place where they can learn about the product. They can learn about some great ways to use it, some different applications that are in their own houses, their own backyards, whatever, and then be empowered to go forward and kind of make a decision and actually push that dream into the reality.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. And, you mentioned a couple of things there. They're somewhat complicated products. It's important to get it right. It's important for the customer to be able to figure out what you guys have to be able to fit their needs, what they're looking for, what their kind of desires are for what they're looking for. So what were some of the goals or I guess challenges or business objectives that you all were looking to achieve within that experience that brought you to Logic in the first place?
There's a couple different things that really play into it. I think there always is when you make a decision like this, but you have some complexity that comes from our manufacturers. We do a lot of drop shipping and every manufacturer is going to do something a little different. But we still want to provide a unified experience for our customers. Buying a gas log set at Woodland Direct should feel the same regardless of kind of what manufacturer it is. So we didn't want to take the tact of just throwing all these SKU options in front of our customer and expecting them to know what to do with them. So our goal is really to take this disparate set of data and present it to the customer in a way that feels like Woodland, and that really allows them to move through that buying journey in the most effective way possible and be informed about what they're doing. So we have that piece of it where you have all this like different types of data coming from our manufacturers, from our vendors. And then you kind of step into the customer experience and UX side of it, specifically talking about the website. And you really get into this place of needing to take that data that looks one way here and maybe do something completely different with it in order to facilitate a customer experience that is really with the excellence that we want on our website. So being able to really diverge the sets of data, separate them, and then come to this place where we can create two completely different experiences. Make sure our vendors get all the information they need. Make sure our back-end teams have everything we need to understand what this product is, how it works together. But then our customers have the opportunity to then put it together in a way that makes sense, a way that answers their questions, that we're providing the right right content, the right piece of information for them to make that decision. So that's really the business challenge, is taking the different information, speaking one language to our vendors, speaking another language to our backend staff, and speaking yet another one to our customers, and being able to kind of connect those all in a way that doesn't require so much effort and manpower to create, knowledge bases about every little thing for each person, but instead kind of have a more unified strategy that comes from all those sources.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. We always talk about just being able to simplify those processes for customers, and it sounds like that's part of the reason you came.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that you hit on there that I just wanted to kind of double click on. So what would be the alternative, or I guess what was the alternative approach that you guys were looking at if you didn't choose to partner with Logic? How would you have gone about kind of doing all the things that you just said, simplifying the customer experience, doing, achieving all those goals that you just talked about?
Yeah, so we were really in the build or buy decision mode, because we've looked at tools in the past, and nothing ever felt like it really accomplished all the goals. You might have something that could really display information differently to all three of those parties, but maybe takes a ton of man hours to get in there to actually manage this thing, to put the information together. And that's not going to win for us, right? You can't just keep expanding your back office staff. That's not a scalable solution. And so you'd find solutions like that, or you'd find solutions that simply don't meet the customer's requirements, or that are really focused on one of those places, but weren't flexible enough to really do the things that we needed to do, specifically around maybe some of the way dependencies work between the different products, right? So being able to like make that decision is kind of where we were, and so we were actively building out some automation processes, some different things to kind of make the homegrown product that we had created internally, this homegrown configurator, be more efficient for our backend staff, because we were running into the same problem ourselves, right? Whatever we built, it worked for our customer, it worked for our sales team, but it didn't work for us. Right? It didn't work for our staff. And so the scalability of that is just not there. And so being able to work on those things, there's really a decision of working on those automation tasks or moving into something that can handle it. And a lot of what we had talked about, man, if we were really gonna redo this whole thing, if we were gonna do this whole make or buy decision, the basic tenets of what Logic does is really what we had landed on. This is the only way it makes sense. And so when we got introduced to Logic, it was a really easy decision, because Logic had been going down a path that for us felt very forward thinking. It felt really intuitive, and it felt like, man, I've been looking for somebody who would do it like this, right? So for us, that was a really easy decision, because it came down to, man, that's how I would have built it, just a lot better. So that was really the decision point for us.
Well, that's great to hear. And two things that you mentioned there as well that I'd love to hear more about is, you mentioned just flexibility in general within the tools that you're leveraging, and just the ability to kind of look into the future a little bit, right? So, commerce is changing a lot. Buyer preferences are changing a lot. The way that you as a direct to buyer business like you are, that experience is important, I imagine, right? Can you talk about how important the flexibility and kind of future proofing of the technology that you're using is?
It's so important. I mean, when you're talking about the difference between something that can adapt to the way information changes on the regular, especially in this post-COVID like supply chain issue era, right? When you have to have a declarative configuration of any product, and you're like sitting there saying, well, all this stuff is this, and you're declaring every single one, it makes any changes a nightmare to maintain, right? And so when you're talking about future-proofing stuff, being able to have this flexibility to say, for our marketing team to decide, well, what if we did something this way? Because our customers are maybe what we did 2 years ago was great, and it was the optimized version, but now our customers, their buying preferences, their habits are changing. What do I do now? And so our internal problem was when our marketing team wanted to do that thing, it required coordination with all these internal teams to try and make this thing happen. And it was manpower, it was effort, it was design, it was all these things. And they didn't have the flexibility to just say, well, what if I just changed it? what if I just made a quick change and let's test how this works? And so for us, the agility of being able to make those quick changes, see how it works, and then just really go with allowing our customers to tell us what makes the most sense for them and being able to reduce friction in that buying decision. That's the future proofing, because our customers, then we can look at our customers both as our actual external customers, as our internal customers, our sales team, whoever needs to see that configuration information as well, and our vendors. Like they all have a customer element to us, and having the flexibility to really pivot in any of those three channels is a major thing for us to make sure that we can go wherever the market wants us to in the future.
Yeah, that whole concept of agility, I think, is so important and undervalued, I think, in a lot of places. So it's cool that you guys thinking that way. Tyler, this has been great. I only have one last question for you, just related to kind of all the challenges that you mentioned that Logic is helping you guys solve, and the objectives from like a business value perspective. Kind of, I know you guys are within the process with Logic right now. What business value are you kind of hoping to get out of Logic? Whether it's on your site, revenue type metrics, or just within your own internal technology efficiency and things like that. How are you hoping that this kind of goes?
Yeah, there's a couple main points that we'd like to see. There's obviously a revenue increase piece, because when you can increase the the amount of work you can get through, when we get more products to the site, we see more revenue. That's just like a normal kind of understanding, right? I have more of a footprint for a customer to get to. So there's an obvious revenue piece that we're looking for. But on the other side of it, it's throughput. We have this place where we're limited by internal resources, and the option can't always be, do I hire more people so that I can get more products? Because it's not a win game there. You're not going to win that game. And so being able to kind of basically increase the throughput of our internal team, as well as facilitate just a much more streamlined process, the ability to maintain our products a ton better. That's definitely a challenge that we've seen. Again, with those declarative configurations, maintenance when things change is just a nightmare, right? So being able to have that maintenance change and really keeping our products as up to date and accurate for our customers as possible. If we're talking about those three things: revenue, maintenance, and increased throughput for our team, those are the benchmarks for us. If that happens throughout this whole process, then that's a major win.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Tyler, this has been great. Thank you for chatting with us. Thank you for being an awesome Logic customer. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Blake. Have a good one.